Hey guys, so I did episode one last week. You're not gonna find it because Toei kind of took about 10 hours and then went, yeah, we're blocking this video globally. So, despite it being the same format as my other review videos for Ranger, and at most they're only blocked in Asia occasionally, um, this was blocked worldwide. So I figured for episode two, I'll try something a bit different and see if this one doesn't get blocked. So, episode opens where episode one finished off with Goju Wolf and not King Oja fighting until they're interrupted by a shot fired by Goju Blue before not King Oja walks off. Now, we finally get a look at the first, for the first time, at the new intro sequence. Lots of cardboard cutouts. But hopefully by the time of episode 3, I may have actually managed to cut it a bit down and use that for an intro for these videos. So, after the intro sequence, we rejoin Tono, who's making faces with his landlord's son, before the kid leaves for school, and she reminds Tono that rent is due today. As he reminds her, he's looking for another job, which I think is going to be a running theme. I think, like, by the end of the season, he's still going to be looking for work. But we'll see. We'll see. So, over in No One World, which is what I'm going to call it until we get a better name for it, Fire Candle is bugging Love Bouquet for a new King Chandler, as he's just itching to punch Tono in the face. One of the grunts turns up, one of the gold-belled ones, and he's pledging to help him as he introduces himself as Cassius Bell. And they're being watched this whole time by a two-faced monster called... Well, they refer to each other, like the two faces, as Mrs. Sweetcake and Mr. Shining Knife. And behind some doors that open up behind them is a giant face that they refer to as their queen. So, future big bad, I'm guessing. Back on Earth, the landlady's out for a walk when a portal opens up behind it. Again, it's come from a circle, one of those mirrors, and it asks her if she wants treasure. And as soon as she says yes, she's grabbed from behind and pulled into the portal. And Tono happens to be coming along as he hears her scream, races over, and just as he tries to grab her, she's pulled in, and she's transformed into one of our new Monster of the Weeks. Who, this one, introduces itself as Treasure Hunter number 1. Who flies off and using some dowsing rods, says there's some treasure there and blasts a building until he finds a big old rock filled with gemstones in it. And that's his treasure. So Tono manages to catch up pretty quick, and he goes to confront the monster. And the yellow ring holder turns up, carrying a grand piano, like one-handed. Puts it down and starts singing a song about the Taiga sword. Before Blue turns up with a microphone, starts singing, and then jumps on the monster's back, who quickly breaks free and summons the Bridens. So, Goju Leo and Serrano transform and fight while Tono watches on. When Blue questions Treasure Hunt, number 1 says he's a no one. And all no ones are number 1 at something. And to defeat him, it must be in a treasure hunt battle. So, Tono accepts, and it's agreed the victor will be whoever gathers the most treasure. And off he goes. Blue turns to Tono and says he and Yellow are already teamed up, and they expect Tono to join them. But he says he's not a team player. And as he tries to leave, they stop him, and they introduce themselves as Bakugami Ryuji and Byakuya Rikyo. I'm probably butchering the names, but I'll probably get there by the end of the season. if I do this for this long. So a little bit later on, in a field, a picnic and barbecue is interrupted by Tono using the Taiga sword as a giant treasure hunter, using the swords to try and dig up the ground and look for treasure. And he's stopped by Yellow, who's literally strong enough that he's able to grab the blade to stop the Taiga sword before throwing giant boulders and then ripping a tree up and throwing it at him, causing Tono to leave. But when he does, Yellow actually sees something glowing in the hole, so he's found his treasure. Blue is researching treasure on his phone when he catches Treasure Hunter stealing a pile of gold bars from a shop or a small bank, whatever it was. So, getting an idea, he actually visits two elderly fans of his, who he tells he's contracted a throat condition, and passing them a letter, it explains that the treatment is more than he can afford. And without a second's hesitation, the old man offers him this giant antique vase worth a fortune, which he almost blows like his scam by like talking normally for a second before thanking them. But he's actually willing to scam like old people, so nice guy, I guess. So seeing as though he can't use the Taiga sword, Tono's actually looking in and under bins when he sees the landlady's son is being picked on by an older kid or a young man who's taken his treasure. Which, after telling Tono that, oh, the strong can take from the weak, Tono says, well, I'll take it off of you then. Which leads to the bully, like, dropping it and running. Giving it back to the kid tells him the treasure's his lunch. And it's a giant onigiri with all his favourites inside. And getting an idea, he leaves. Elsewhere, the treasure hunter Rikuo and Ryuji are comparing their treasures. And it's close, but treasure hunter number 1 wins. And as he's about to leave to hunt for treasure around the world, Cassius Bell arrives in a giant robot to assist him. As Tono arrives and proceeds to take everyone else's treasure. And he declares both treasure hunt number 1 and the robot his prey. So as he transforms, the battle begins, and we get the same sequence of last time with the announcer and the cheerleaders, as both sides introduce themselves in front of their own cheer squads and the announcer before the battle begins properly. So Blue and Yellow are watching, and they actually like ask each other, are we actually going to help him? And they even admit they were just going to steal his ring. But, you know, he's interesting to them, so Blue transforms and goes and fights the Brydens. And as Goju Tyranno turns around, he prays for Taiga Sword to come. And as, like, you know, that big golden hand, like, flies around, so in fact, probably have to clip there. He's like, hey! And he's like, uses his gauntlet, transforms it. I've really got to get me one of them. And we get Taiga Sword Yellow. Which, again, like Taiga Sword Red, it just looks absolutely brilliant. So, having transformed and fighting the Brydens, Goju Leon is pinned down under fire. So he actually uses the Boom Boomja ring to enable himself to fight his way free and destroys the Brydens there. Goju Wolf is still fighting Treasure Hunter alone, as you see Leon fighting more Brydens, and Tyranno is still fighting in Taiga Sword Yellow. Using their simultaneous finishers, Yellow and Blue beat their respective enemies before Goju Wolf uses his Taiga Sword to cut into the No One and pull his landlady out before the Treasure Hunter explodes. And Tono declares himself Treasure Hunter number 1. Over in No One World, Fire Candle rages about Cassiopea's defeat, and even has a little picture of him. As Bouquet ponders on what the Taiga Sword wearing fighters, like who they are, what they are. As behind her, the giant-headed queen's eyes light up. So again, like I say, I think that's future enemy. So next morning, back at Tono's place, he comes down the stairs and finds the whole place decorated in a Taiga Sword theme. And it turns out the landlady's decided to open up as a cafe, and she's gone for a Taiga Sword theme. And she's actually hired Goju Yellow, or Goju Tirano, as her new server. And as she then asks again for a rent, because she did give him a deadline of yesterday. Rushing over, he asked the guys where the treasure is, to which they said they handed it into the police and gave the vase back. So he legs it out, shouting he's got a job interview. And as he runs off, not King Oja sees him, says things aren't over yet, and walks off. And that's the second episode. Now, I may or may not get better at like these sort of episode recaps. It's the first time I've done it this way. So hopefully I will improve. But I really enjoyed this episode. It's a slow introduction to the team. Now, I can't really remember. I mean, feel free to correct me in the comments. I can't really remember where it's taken multiple episodes for the team to get together. Obviously, I haven't seen every Sentai yet. I've seen quite a few. Maybe half of Sentai. So, there's plenty I haven't seen yet. Which is a good thing, because I'm enjoying watching it. But I'm enjoying this. I'm guessing we're only going to get one coloured Taiga Sword per episode. So, like, last week it was red, this time it's yellow. Next time it'll be whatever colour. And I don't know, unless we get more Zords, I'm guessing there's not going to be any combination this season. I mean, maybe we'll get there'll be a way to attach like Leon and Tyranno's bits onto Taiga Sword Red, along with the unicorn and the hawk bits. But I don't, if there is a way to do that, I don't know. But we're not going to get like your classic like 5 Zords coming together and making your big robot that way. It is just going to be the one robot each week, which it's all right. I'm more of a fan of the combining sort of aspect of the Megazords and Gatai over the years, or the Mecha, or whatever name you want to have for them. In terms of the episode itself, I think we're setting up the tropes for the season. So, obviously, Tono, like I said earlier, I think he's just going to spend the entire season with his landlady asking for rent. I mean, even though he saved her this time, she doesn't know it's him, so I guess there's no discount there. But yeah, it's gonna be like every week is, oh, I'm going to a job interview, I'm going to a job interview, because she just wants her rent. I think that is going to be the main sort of thing. I think Fire Candle is going to be one of those villains that you're either going to like or is very quickly going to start grating on the nerves. He does seem very pantomimey, if that makes sense. He's very sort of over the top in a way that is either just going to be fun or is going to get annoying real quick. I think Bouquet Love is going to be a more interesting one. She seems to be the one that is thinking things through. When Fire Candle was like moaned about wanting a new Flame Chandler or whatever it was called, um, she's just there, like just taking it. She's not really answering him, and I think it's because she's meant to be the more thoughtful type. I mean, she saw Tono take the red ring in the first place, and she even said to him, "Don't put it on because you'll die." Obviously, he didn't, but she thought he would, and she was even trying to protect him. So, I don't think she's completely evil. And she even told Fire Candle on the first one, "Don't just go destroying everything because that's only going to lead to trouble." He went and destroyed everything, and yeah, that's what ended up with everything happening. So, it's his own fault. Mrs. Sweets, I think it was, and Mr. Shining Knife. Mrs. Sweetcake, sorry, and Mr. Shining Knife. They don't really do much, but my guess is they're either on the same level as the other two or slightly higher up. And then, of course, you've got the Queen, whose eyes lit up at the end of the episode, which was kind of interesting, to say the least. Again, the circles thing comes back in. I love the way the soldiers just sort of come out of the circles of the other ones. I suppose you could pretty much have infinite number unless they have to come from somewhere. They don't just spawn. But yeah, I like that gimmick. Just they'll come from any circle. Also, the No One that becomes Treasure Hunter #1, it absorbs the landlady, which just seems to me a lot like the monsters from Avatar and Sentai Don Brothers, where anyone that had too much negativity became one of the monsters. And of course, you had the Don Brothers trying to beat them and save the people, and then of course you had the other lot that were just trying to destroy them and not save the people. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a bit of that going on with all the different Gozyugers. But again, it's early days. It seems to be getting off to a good start. So let's have to see how it goes. And hopefully this video won't get blocked like the last one. And at some point I may redo the first one, because yeah, if I end up doing the whole lot, it'll be so annoying if I don't have the first one. But anyway, guys, I'll catch you next week. Bye.